Welcome to Dr. TSPR show. This is Dr. Tangella Shiva Prasad Reddy alias Dr. TSPR. Namaste, Adab, hello and a warm welcome to Ravichandran-Swaminathan ji post Sri Lankan show where he was the hero along with the native Sri Lankans. Now he is going to be another hero worship after this show. I am for sure. For the simple fact that we have been discussing this show since a long time, but in between the movie has happened. That's why we had to shelve this for some time so that people will become aware of ISRO. What has happened with ISRO? What has happened with that scandal, spy scandal? What has happened with the scientist Nambi Narayan, who was very much the villain then? So many cases against him. He was in jail. I think everyone is aware about the rocketry cinema. I need not tell you beyond. But beyond that also, some colleagues of his came out and started to rebuke him, stating that he is not the father of cryogenics or he is not the one who has developed Vikas engine. All said and done, fine. ISRO scientists, that's okay, accepted. That is your internal matter. But is it not true that he was framed? This is what I am expecting the ISRO to come out clear and clean. Is he not been framed? ISRO, the satellite space, the premier agency of India, Indian Space Research Organization. Through this show I am questioning you. Is it not a vendetta or a case against Nambi Narayan wherein he has been falsely implicated? ISRO, you come out. Leave about. We are not bothered about your cryogenic engines and Vikas engines, what that hero Madhavan has shown in his movie in consonance with Mr. Nambi Narayan. I feel we do not know. But the quintessential part of all this is, had he been framed or not? Scientists, come out. Why are you falling into the trap? If there is anything, discuss it internally. Call them. Not an issue. आप सोचिए क्या हुआ हमारे इंडियन स्पेस रिसर्च ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ. क्या साइंटिस्ट नंबू शास्त्रवेत्ता जो है नंबी नारायण के साथ जिस तरह पेश बर्ताव किया गया, वो देशद्रोही बताया गया, क्या वो सही है? हम यही चाहते कि इसरो साइंटिस्ट इसको पहले बताए. क्या वो क्रायोजन इंजन से या विकास इंजन से ताल्लुक है या नहीं, हम बाद में रखते हैं. उसको भी हम डिस्कस करेंगे बाद में, पक्का डिस्कस करेंगे, क्योंकि एक अहम मुद्दा है. एक नागरिक और एक ऐसे नागरिक जो हमारे अंतरिक्ष के जो शास्त्रवेत्ता है, शास्त्र ज्ञान परिज्ञान उसके साथ जुड़ा हुआ ऐसा एक नंबी नारायण, जिस तरह उनको एक देशद्रोही बताया गया, जेल में डाल दिया गया, उनकी परिवार भी किस तरह मुश्किलें उठाए, ये सही है या नहीं? Is it true or not that Mr. Nambi Narayan and himself and his family had to go through that unusual ordeal of fighting a case, a espionage case, a spy scandal case against his name, against his family, touting or stating that he is the number one enemy of the nation. Let us stick to that. Rest of the things. So in doing so, now I need not show you again on the Supreme Court what it said. Supreme Court order 50 lakhs you pay. Kerala High Court, they said 1 lakh 3 crores or 30 crores. They have all paid this amount to Mr. Nambi Narayan. If I am wrong, they can always correct. But compensation by Supreme Court, compensation by Kerala High Court or Kerala government has been paid or not. Why did you pay? That leads to this live show which has not been attended to by your rocketry movie. That is why you can say, in essence, this will be the best rocketry science. The ISRO spy scandal today with none other than Ravichandran-Swaminathan ji, clearly putting out in the poster itself the chashma ke piche kaun hai? Who is there behind those spectacles, in the sense the mastermind? We would love to know. Yes, the media is already agog. The ex-DGP of Gujarat, Mr. Sri Kumar, who was intelligence chief that time during that case, and along with him, the other police official was DGP CB Matthews and scores of other police officials who went for anticipatory bail. And the defense was there was no foreign involvement. Who was, see, this is what happens, what is happening with the courts, Supreme Court. We have seen in COVID-19 trial, they go for trial without making clear what these vaccines contain, without making clear whether this virus was isolated or not, without making clear whether it was a lab human made virus or without such things the trial happens. The same thing with Mr. Nambi Narayan case. That is why that has evinced our interest, and having Ravichandran ji, a very acclaimed web crime analyst, pursuing this case since a long time, and we had to wait for the rocketry movie to hit the screens so that this issue will become popular. Our interest is, if Supreme Court, Kerala High Court, Kerala government, everyone has accepted and have paid compensation to him, if that is the case, who has framed him? What is the purpose and motive? From here, I am handing it over to Ravichandran ji. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reddy. And I welcome my friend, Mr. Subramanian Siva, who is also joined us here as my guest. Thank you for having him on your show, Dr. Reddy.
Wonderful.
Now, let me say one thing. I have not seen the rocketry movie.
Okay.
Neither have I seen the video interviews given by Dr. Nambi Narayan, Madhavan, or anything, because I wanted my mind to be very clear.
Yes.
My intention here is not to cause any hurt or defame anybody or point fingers at anybody. My intention is pure and simple, and it is purely academic. I have not got access to the actual case diaries or the statements given by the various people, but I have depended completely on media reports and the court judgment. So these are two sources of my information, and on this, I have what I am expressing is my opinion. So with that disclaimer, let me start. First, I have to give you a background. Dr. Reddy, it's not moving. The screen is not moving.
You reduce it and then move. You just try to minimize this, then you move, and then after that again you can maximize it. Maybe because you minimize it, Ravichandran ji. Or else I'll do one thing. I'll make you presenter once again. Welcome, Mr. Subramania Shiva. You can start your video, Mr. Subramanian Shiva. Let people watch you.
Okay.
Welcome to the show, sir. Greetings to you. Yes, Ravichandran ji, I have made you a presenter once again. These things will keep happening that we are used. When you announce such a show, people are eagerly waiting and they will debunk us. That will happen. Now you can enlarge the screen or else you can present. It's visible. Your disclaimer is visible.
The next slide and click it. That's all.
Yeah,
So
that's
the
it.
basic, before I go to the gist of the case, let me start with the background of political background, technical background, and everything. Because when I do an investigation or when I'm called to assist an investigation, first I have to get a grip on the subject that I'm investigating, on the complete details before I start any investigative work. This is one thing that I also suggest to all people who listen to my lectures on investigation. Get a grip on the subject before you start doing anything. So let us go back to 1994. What was the situation then? The situation was USSR had crumbled and it was breaking up. They were wanting a lot of funds. They were running short of money. America was a dominant power. After Iraq war, there was nobody else left to challenge them. Boris Yeltsin was the president of USSR, of the then USSR, and he was totally under the American control because he was the Russian economy had almost collapsed, and he had to listen to the Americans. So this was the state in Europe. As far as India was concerned, Prime Minister Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister in Delhi, and to put it bluntly, he was not under the control of the High Command. The High Command was not able to control him in any manner. He was taking decisions on his own and as required by the situation. He was not amenable to any suggestion by the High Command. That was the situation as far as Delhi was concerned. As far as Kerala was concerned, Karnakaran was the chief minister, and let me put it this way, that he was the strong man of Kerala at that point in time. And like in all states, there was a faction against him headed by A.K. Anthony. This is as far as the political side of the thing was concerned. As far as rocketry was concerned, as far as ISRO was concerned, the ISRO was formed by Vikram Sarabhai. And most of the people at that time, they were direct recruits, recruited directly by Vikram Sarabhai. And Nambi Narayan was also one of them. The liquid propulsion, there are two sets of propulsions. One is the liquid propulsion, in which Nambi Narayan was a prime mover in that, along with other people in the chain. Because any rocket this thing does not depend on one single individual. It takes a lot of people to get ready or assemble the entire rocket system, and every part of that is as important as the propellant. The propulsion is only one part of it, the engine is one part of it. The first engine that ISRO took was from France, and that was the Viking engine. This Viking engine has got a history of its own. This Viking engine was developed by the Germans first for their V2 rockets. And subsequently, the German scientists who developed that engine went to France to take care of that this thing. To take care of the technology there. And in '64 itself, this Viking engine was in operation. Now, when ISRO was given the option to study that engine, a team under Nambi Narayan was sent to France, and they worked on the Viking engine, and they developed made modifications to that Viking engine, which was brought to India, and that is our Vikas engine. So this is as far as the liquid propulsion engine is concerned. Sometime in 1987, India decided that, but there was one problem with the liquid propulsion system in that the payload which could be carried to space was very much limited. It was limited to probably around 1 to 1.5 tons, not more than that. And India was looking for a payload in excess of 2 to 3 tons. And for that, only the cryogenic engine was amenable to that. So the GSLV, that is the geostationary rocket, GSLV, this thing was project was conceived of in 1987 under Jnana Gandhi. He was the chief of that system, and they were told to develop the cryogenic engine. In the meantime, in 1990, 91, India approached America as well as France for cryogenic technology and the engine. At that time, America company General Dynamics, they offered the cryogenic engine, but the cost was very high. Same thing happened with France also, and there was no technology transfer involved in that. At that time, the Russian came forward. Even Japan was approached for that cryogenic engine, but Japan was not able to help. Then finally, Russia was prepared to offer that cryogenic engine for probably about $200 million or $300 million, which was a bargain price because they needed that money very badly. So in 1991, a memorandum was signed between India and Russia, where it was proposed that the technology would be transferred along with some engines to India. Now, at this point in time, America intervened. They cited the missile treaty, that is the Missile Technology Control Regime, MTCR. And they said that Russia could not transfer that technology because this technology could be used for military purposes, which was absurd because the cryogenic engine for loading the liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen into the rocket itself took a lot of time, and that could not be used for military purposes, but still, because America applied the pressure, Russia cancelled that treaty. Now, this is the point. At this point in time, Glavcosmos, which was the organization giving that technology, they said that they had some cryogenic engines from 1960s, which was untested, and that engine was the I think the KD5 or something like that. The name was KVD engines, KVD1 engines. Now this engine was not tried so far, even though it was developed in 1960s. It was not tested or not tried, and Russia had some engines which they were willing to give to India without any technology transfer. So another memorandum was signed where an agreement was signed where they could take these engines without the technology transfer. Now, the Russians were afraid that if the Americans come to know that they were going to transfer these cryogenic engines to India, they would raise objections. So they wanted to be done secretively. They approached Air India for lifting that engines. Air India refused to do it because they said that without customs clearance, we will not do it. So ultimately, another company, Ural Airlift, was contacted, and they said that they would be willing to take it without any papers. And that is how those engines came here into India. And one of the means of doing it was this Ural Airlift entered into a contract with ISRO where they pretended to take some material from India to Russia and from Russia repair it and bring it back. That was the excuse for bringing those engines here. All this is important. All this is important in the further investigations also, and how it was taken up. So at this point in time, now America wanted was aware that Russia was giving engines to India, that India was developing its cryogenic capacities and everything. Now, this is the background of the entire story. Now, what happened was sometime in April 1994, June 1994, two ladies came from Maldives. One was Mariam Rashida and the other one was Fauzia Hassan. Mariam Rashida came to India as a tourist, and Fauzia Hassan also came as a tourist, except that she had her 14-year-old daughter who was studying in Bangalore, and she wanted to visit her. Both of these people came from Maldives. They were friends, they were acquaintances in Maldives, and they came here. Sometime during October, when the visa expired, Mariam's, because Fauzia Hassan had come on a 1-year visa, whereas Mariam had come only on a 6-month visa, and that got expired. And she was unable to go back because of a plague scare which had grounded all aircraft, which means the date of her departure had to be postponed, and she had no visa at that point in time. So the rules say that Foreigners Act says that in case your visa is expiring or is likely to expire before you are going, you have to inform to the nearest police station. And this Mariam Rashida went to the nearest police station and informed them that her visa had expired and she wanted an extension. Now, she went through, actually, this is where there is some amount of what I would say is disconnect. Anyway, I will come to all that later on. Now, at this point in time, she was put in touch with one inspector, Vijayan. And Vijayan told Mariam to get her ticket and come to the station along with her visa. So this, when Mariam did this, he took that passport as well as that air ticket from her. And then he went to the hotel to check on her, and there is an allegation that he made some advances which was rebuffed by Mariam. And because of that, Vijayan came back to the station and asked her to come on October 20th, and where she was arrested for overstaying. This was brought to the court, and the judiciary at that point in time remanded her to prison without going into the details. Vijayan did not tell the court that she had a passport, she had her air ticket also, and that he had taken custody of that. This was hidden from the court. The court passed the judgment order asking her to be remanded to custody. This was sometime in October 20th. Now, in the course of the search of her hotel room, at that point in time, Fauzia Hassan was also present in the hotel room. And Fauzia Hassan was asked to go out when this advance was made towards Mariam Rashida. But we will not go into all those details. The point is, a search in that room yielded a diary in which was written in Dveshi language, which is a foreign language. And some names cropped up. One of the names was Shashi Kumar of ISRO. And there is supposed to be a telephone record of conversation between Mariam and Shashi Kumar also. Several calls had been made to Shashi Kumar also. Now, at this point, Fauzia Hassan was also there. And the name of two other people, one was Chandrasekhar, K. Chandrasekhar, and the other one was S.K. Sharma, who was a contractor for ISRO. Chandrasekhar was the representative of Drive Cosmos in India. So these two names cropped up in that diary, and immediately we do not know whether IB informed the police or the police informed IB. In any case, an FIR was registered and Sashi Kumar was arrested sometime in 23rd of November, if I'm not mistaken. Now, based on the statements given by Fauzia Hassan and Mariam Rashida, Nambi Narayan was arrested on the 30th. At that point in time, it was also noted that one of the close confidants of Karunakaran, IG Raman Srivatsava, his name had also cropped up and he was also put under suspicion. Now, these are the details of the case. Basic details. At this point, the media came into the picture and they started writing stories about spies, sex, honey trap, this thing, that thing, compromise, treason, etc. And it went on for a long time. The net result was these people went into jail. This is the timeline of the, what is the next slide is the timeline of the different events in that. That is October 8, Mariam Rashida approaches Inspector Vijay for a visa extension which is caused by flight cancellation. October 17, she comes again with the passport and air ticket and is asked to give the passport and ticket to Vijayan. October 20th, Mariam is arrested for overstaying. November 1st, Nambi Narayan submits his voluntary retirement from ISRO. November 11th, Fauzia Hassan is arrested. November 23rd, Sashi Kumar of ISRO is arrested along with Chandrasekhar and S.K. Sharma, a labor contractor. November 30th, Nambi Narayan is arrested. Some peculiar things happened here, which I will go again into that when I'm discussing that case. Now, December 1994, the case is transferred to CBI. Now, we will stop at this point. Between October 20th and now December 4th, or around that time, or before that time, surprisingly, the police arrested all these people, but no search was made of Sashi Kumar's residence or Nambi Narayan's residence. It was done later.
Such a big case of treason.
Later.
Such a big case of treason. No house search is made.
No house search was made, but it was made later. 1 week later, 10 days later. Sufficient time after the arrest, not immediately after the arrest. See, one thing that I tell when I give lectures on investigation is, even registering an FIR only after the police person is inspector or the IO, investigating officer, is convinced that there is some evidence. It may be superfluous, it may be completely it could be simple, some simple evidence, primary evidence is there, some basic evidence is there, but ensure that there is some evidence, and only then you have to proceed to register an FIR. Now, in this case, the FIR has been created, the people have been arrested, but no evidence has been taken, other than some statements. Nambi Narayan and Sashi Kumar were arrested on the basis of the diary entries in taken from Mariam Rashida's room, and statements from them. That's all. Okay. Now, when this is where IB was brought into the picture. Now, the Kerala police lodged an FIR arrested these people, did some preliminary investigation. At that point in time, C.B. Matthews felt that since this was an espionage case and international people are involved in it, it should be handed over to the CBI. That is the decision that C.B. Matthews took, which is a correct decision because the local police are not supposed to handle such cases. Now, before handing it over to the CBI, the IB people also given some inputs because one of the names mentioned in the diary was a person called Zuhaira. Zuhaira was supposed to be an ISI agent in touch with the Pakistan people, and she was based in Sri Lanka, and there were bank transactions from Habib Bank to these two people. Now, whether those transactions of transfers of money to these two people was in connection with this case or for making the payment of fees for Fauzia Hassan's child, we do not know about all this because those things have not been discussed anywhere. But the point is that there have been transactions and a Zuhaira name was mentioned in that. And the beauty of it was Zuhaira was not on the ISI, these things, when photographs were compared. 149 photographs were compared. And Zuhaira's name did not appear on that. Now, probably this information came from IB or the Kerala police found it, we do not know. But anyway, so now the Kerala police have registered an FIR. They have arrested two senior scientists from ISRO. They have taken a foreign company representative into custody, and they have taken an ISRO contractor into custody. And in this 1 month, the case has been blown all over the country by the media. Now, at this point, the Kerala police cannot say that, sorry, we made a mistake. So my feeling is, without proper evidence, they took a huge step. And they found that they could not go back on that. And this lemon, they sold this lemon. They sold this hot potato to the IB and asked IB to handle it. Now, IB cannot register a case. They cannot do any interrogation. Their job is limited only to collection of data and giving of data to the police. Now, their job is only to gather intelligence and share it with the people to whom it should be shared. Now, some information was shared with the police and Nambi Narayan was arrested based on IB inputs also. And that point in time, R.B. Sri Kumar, he was the second in command of the IB center in Kerala. In December, around December 2nd or 3rd, this case was transferred to CBI. Now, the IB had got a hot potato in its hands. It has given some information. That information could not be verified or was not verified, and the entire thing was handed over to CBI. CBI went through the entire case, and after investigating it for 2 years, from 1994 to 1995, they came to the conclusion that there was no case at all. And they submitted a closure report. That closure report was not accepted, and only in 1996 the closure report was submitted to the magistrate, it was accepted and the case was closed. In 1996, the case was reopened by the next government. In this meantime, what had happened was, because Karunakaran's close confidant Raman Srivatsa was supposed to be involved in this, Karunakaran was forced to resign from his post and A.K. Anthony became the CM. And subsequently, in 1996, CBI closed the case. 1996, there was an election. The Communist Party took power and they reopened the case. In this entire 2.5 years, now there was a lot of talk about 230 documents, 250 documents were seized by the media. I have to go about the media also in this aspect. There was a lot of talk about 230 documents, 250 documents, 260 documents, which has been seized from Sashikumar's house, Nambi Narayan's house, from here, from there. This has been sent to ISI and all that. Now, what are these documents that have been sent or seized? It contains details about this was the official this thing, saying that liquid propulsion details, telemetry details, PSLV rocket details were being sent out. One of the ISRO scientists who was working on that, of course, an anonymous scientist, he said, these documents are of no importance. Probably if ISI asked us for that, we would have given it to them directly. You don't require spies for this. In fact, some of these documents, like engine drawings and all that, have come on ISRO newsletter itself. And these newsletters have been circulated widely. So ISI need not have asked ISRO also. All that they have to do is get a newsletter and all the details are there. This is one aspect of it. The second aspect is this engine details that the people talked about was invented 20 years earlier, 20, 30 years earlier. It is not only ISRO which was having these details, this details was, everybody was having it. Some people were using it to pack masala. Some people were using it to further develop it into a rocket. Some people were using it for academic purposes. Everybody had it. Probably if somebody had gone to Valimala provision shop, they would have packed it in that drawing and given it to you. It was that easily available. It was of no importance to anybody. Then the second aspect, the cryogenic technology. In 1994, ISRO itself did not have any cryogenic technology drawings or designs, except for the basic this thing, because the full details had not come to them at that point in time. Then where was the question of selling cryogenic technology? So this is an issue which the police should have investigated. At least they should have thought about what is this cryogenic technology, what is this liquid propulsion. Somebody should have gone to ISRO and asked them, what are the documents? ISRO made a complete audit of all their documents and said that all the documents are available with us. And what they also said was, the documents and designs which were in ISRO was available to anybody for the asking, because ISRO believed in transparency. Which means any scientist in ISRO could take these documents home. He could take a photocopy of it. The most critical documents, that was restricted access and nobody could take it. And that was all safe. So even if I assume that there is an espionage, some documents have been transferred, the documents are of no consequence. So where is the question of espionage arise? This I would be reflecting as an investigator.
Yeah.
And having said that, now these two ladies who have come into it, who have been labeled as spies, one was an actress in Maldives, Fauzia Azam. Maria Mazina was working for the Maldives government or some organization in Maldives. Both of them did not know English. Now, how do you send a spy who does not even know the language of that place and ask them to negotiate a price for the documents? And when they take the documents, they are not even able to understand what the documents are. Even our educated police were not able to understand what the documents are. How do you expect a person who does not even know English to see what the documents are? Which country will send a spy like that? A basic question. Okay, let me assume that somebody else is pulling this tail. These people are not spies, but they are just mules to carry document from one point to another, make the payment and go. Now, if you are going to employ mules, are you going to send them with a passport in their own name, carrying their own addresses and having their daughter studying in Bangalore? At that point, Kerala police should have silently said, drop it and get lost.
Yeah.
A lot of headache would have been saved in that aspect. But they didn't do it. They passed it on to IB. Now, we do not know what acts IB had to grind at that point in time. They handed it over to the CBI. They made some inquiries. They made some interrogations. They took out some statements, and in this process, the accused were manhandled.
Goodness.
The accused were manhandled. And when the case went to CBI, they went into all this and said that there is no case at all and they wanted to close it. Fine. And they finally closed it in 1998 when the court said that refused permission to the Kerala government to reopen the case. And at that point in time, it was closed. Now, Nambi Narayan went to NHRC. NHRC immediately gave Nambi Narayan 1 crore as compensation. The question is, why did NHRC consider the plight of the other people also? Why did they give only 1 crore to Nambi Narayan? Just because they applied for it? Doesn't mean that the other people have not suffered or they should apply for it and get it. Why was no suo motu action taken on that? This is a question that has to be taken. Now, the CBI officers concerned